Welcome. This is our Wednesday class for EDG 530, or EDU 530, I'm sorry about that. And today we're going to talk about guided reading. You do have a couple of required reading assignments. The Beers, Chapter 4, everybody must read. And then 6, 7, and 8, I suggest that you would read it all, but you really only have to provide a reading strategy that you prefer out of one of the chapters. So it's up to you if you want to read them all or if you want to jigsaw that. But I suggest that you at least read 6, 7, or 8, and then you could just watch the voice thread from the other chapters if that's what you would prefer to do. But you must read Chapter 4 and then 6, 7, or 8. It's going to talk about guided instruction and some things that you can do to help your students during reading. I just wanted to go over this and make sure that you've done the being is the meaning on the last online classes discussion board. So make sure that you've completed that. And then for this class's discussion board, we're going to complete a KWL chart. This is something that's used a lot in literacy, and it's something like, what do you know, what do you want to know, and what have you learned? And usually we go back after and fill out the what we learned. And what this is doing is it's setting the stage for our understanding of the concept. So on this class, on the discussion board, there's a guide that tells you what I want you to put in each section. I do want you to put something that you've learned to date, so you might want to fill out this KWL after you've read Beers to give you something to put in there, or you can do it based on what you learned on the last class. So today's class is all about explicit instruction. What this is going to discuss is content versus strategies. What we want to do is take the guesswork out of it for our students. We want to model and scaffold and give them practices. So I'm going to talk to you in a little bit about I do, we do, you do, and it's just a strategy that we do for explicit instruction. This does not have to be something that we use every time we teach a strategy. It's just one example that you can utilize. First, you want to decide what strategy you want to teach. You tell the students what they're going to be learning. You model the strategy. You give them lots of chances to practice. You continue to model that, and then you give them a chance to practice independently. It's called I do, we do, you do. So you would watch me do it, then we would do it together, and then you would do it. So it's just kind of that transformation of passing the baton, I guess. You show them how to do it, then you do it together as a group, and then they do it independently. In Beers, you will learn that he has broken it up into before, during, and after. So Chapter 6 is before reading strategies, Chapter 7 is during reading strategies, and Chapter 8 is after reading strategies. Some things you want to think about before reading is really important. This is something that a lot of teachers skip over, and unfortunately it takes away that motivation to read. If we take time before we read, it gives students a purpose for reading, and it allows them to be slightly motivated and have an investment in what they're going to read. It helps you as well to see what the students already know. So if you do some sort of KWL chart or some strategy that Beers talks about in Chapter 6, you get a feeling of what the kids already know. And so how in-depth do you need to go with your introduction, or how in-depth do you need to go with your reading for them? And it allows you to scaffold your lesson planning. It also brings upon prior knowledge that the students might have. So it might retrieve some memories from long-term or short-term memory. And sometimes when you have those discussions, there's one student that might give an example that prompts another student to say, oh yeah, I've done that before. And so that discussion beforehand is really helpful because the students have those memories then as they go into the reading, and they don't have to take that time cognitively to retrieve those memories. It also motivates them and gives them a purpose for reading. Like I said, it accesses their prior knowledge. It allows them to interact with the text before they read. They can practice things like sequencing or cause and effect. They can make inferences, things like that. Another thing you can do is talk about some vocabulary that might be problematic. So sometimes when we're reading, there's key terms or there might be words in the story that the students haven't used or read before. And so you can discuss those words before they even begin reading and talk about what they might mean. And that allows students to be comfortable with the words so that when they see it in the book, it doesn't cause them to stumble. They can move right through that reading. And then lastly, it just gives them a little bit of meaning before they read. Some things we want to be careful about and not do before they read. We do not want to give the students all of the information before they read. We also don't want to give them a summary of the book or a summary of their reading, because if we give them a summary, they'll tend to skim through that because they say like, oh yeah, I already know what this is going to be about. So we don't want to give them a summary. We also don't want to give them too much information because then they won't want to read it. Okay, so during reading, there's some strategies that the students can be doing while they are reading. They do these throughout their reading, and they might have to stop, or it might just be something that cognitively they're thinking about while they're reading. It helps them become active readers, and it helps them interact with the text. So some things that they can do are to pause and predict what's going to happen next, question what they don't understand or what's confusing, monitor their understanding. So this is something that we really need to work on with our students, is pausing and saying, do I know what's going on, or do I need to go back and reread? Identify ways to fix up what has confused them, clarify things that have confused them. They can comment on the text or their understanding. They can connect with their reading to other texts or personal experiences, and it can help them visualize the text. They are not doing after reading or before reading strategies. These are during the reading. So you read a paragraph and you stop, or you read a sentence and you stop mid-paragraph and have some of those conversations. Those are some things that are really important. And then after reading strategies are the ones that most of the teachers are already doing, going back and talking about comprehending the text. So these are ones that I think more people are stronger with than the before and after reading, or before and during reading, I'm sorry. But after reading strategies are definitely some strategies that you can use. When the reading is completely finished, these are when you do your after reading, obviously. They can serve a purpose for reading, so they should align well with your unit plan. And what you're going to do is have the students reflect upon what they have read. They might question what they didn't understand. It helps them to monitor their understanding, identify ways to fix up, so just like during reading. Clarify what's confused them, comment, connect, and visualize. All of these things are similar or the same as during and after. They stop and think about what it is that they've read at this point. It also allows you to compare and contrast one part of a text to another, summarize what you've read, identify main characters, major events, and details, identify conflicts or main problems, see connections, make inferences, and distinguish between facts and opinions. These are all different things that you can do. It's not that you have to do all of these after you're done reading. You might choose one strategy. So you might talk about fact and opinion, or you might talk about connecting with another text. It's not that you have to do each and every after reading strategy. These are not, they're not tests, and they're not like an anticipation guide. So an after reading strategy, you might go back and fill in the L part of the KWL, but you're not going back and completing what I'm going to read. Or you might go back and talk about what your prediction was, but you're not going to change your prediction. And an assessment or a multiple choice is not an after reading guide. An after reading guide is allowing the students to think critically about what they have read. If you're giving them a multiple choice test or an open response test, you're not really having a discussion and allowing the students to think critically beyond the literal interpretation of the text. So make sure that you're really doing a strategy that's engaging the students. It's also just not a simple summary. It's asking them critical thinking questions like a problem or solution, or what happened when this character had the problem, who did she go to, what was her support system, asking questions that go beyond just that literal understanding. So that was just a really quick run through of the BEERS content that I wanted you to know. You will get much more of that information from your own personal reading, so I don't want to take too much time explaining it to you because you will be reading that. Make sure you all read chapter 4 and then 6, 7, and 8. You can choose just one chapter, but then I would suggest that you either go back and look at the voice threads that have been created or read them yourself, because this is information that you're going to want to use when you create things for your LAP. So just a heads up there. Reminders. Make sure you sign up for a demonstration lesson. Those are beginning next week, so make sure that you've got your name signed up for one of those. If you want to do it with a partner, reach out to a partner and get with them on that. Reminder that everybody's going to read chapter 4, and then you can choose one more to read. You do want to complete a voice thread for chapters 6, 7, or 8. I have a starter on each of those chapters, and as you can see, I've created a graphic image to upload to just kind of help guide my discussion of what my strategy is. You do not have to do that, but I think that that was a way that will just kind of help organize your thoughts and help those that are listening to see what it is that you're talking about. You do have to complete the KWL discussion board post for this class and begin working on your LAP number 13 because that is being brought to class on Monday. Also, make sure for class next week that you've looked up some state and national standards for your subject area. We're going to talk about this in class, so I just want you to have an idea of where those are and maybe link them to your laptop so that when we discuss it, you can bring them up pretty quickly. And then talk about with your group what young adult novel you might want to choose, because on Monday when we meet in person, I'm going to be approving that, or I can approve it before that. But you have to have those in hand by that Wednesday class. So if you can decide on that as quickly as possible and shoot me an email to say this is what we've decided, you can buy that quicker than just having between Monday and Wednesday to purchase that book. And then last, if you're going to do an essentials list, you need to decide on that and bring it on Monday to class because I will have to approve that for you. So that's it for this online class. Not that that's it for my discussion for you. You're going to have a lot of reading and a lot of work to do, so I've made this part really short as compared to the last one. So make sure you read the Beers chapters, you do your voice thread, you do the discussion board, and then you do the LAP number 13. When that's going to be pretty time consuming because you're going to have to join a professional organization and then complete all of those sections that are part of number 13. But that's something that you can definitely do independently without us needing to meet in class and discuss that. So if you have questions, shoot me an email, shoot me a text. But good luck, and I will see you Monday.